Hello and welcome back to the TVBinges.com Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media Group podcast. I'm Kyle Tremblay, the editor of TVBinges.com, and I'm joined as always by a fellow TV Binges writer. She's working in PR for the Devil's Nightclub. It's Olivia Richards. Hello.
How is that not my LinkedIn profile?
I mean, you should be changing it right now as we speak.
Like, basically right now. I just need to hop on and get that done.
So we're talking about the devil because today we are discussing Fox's weirdly controversial new drama, Lucifer. Olivia, what did you think?
It was so bizarre, and none of it should have worked, but it did, because it was the weirdest thing that's ever happened.
Yes! Olivia, in on Lucifer!
Yes!
Pro-devil. The headlines.
Always, yeah.
So, the premise of this show, before we get into it, because the premise of the show needs to be stated, is
multiple times
that the literal biblical devil, Lucifer Morningstar, repeating, the literal biblical devil, Lucifer Morningstar, has gotten bored of hell, as one does. I mean, normal, natural. So he decides to hang out on Earth for a bit and do what any devil would naturally do, which is purchase and run a nightclub. But while he's running that nightclub, a young woman who he has had relations with, being the devil, is shot in his arms in a drive-by. Lucifer is also shot, but of course he's immortal. And, Lucifer himself, again, the literal devil, manages to sort of inject himself into the investigation, and finds the detective that he's working with, Chloe, to be very interesting. And against all odds, this turns into sort of a mismatched buddy cop comedy between, again, the literal devil, and a very, like, straight-laced police detective. So that's the premise.
Oh god, so much about this was just so flawless, and oh my gosh.
So tell me what you enjoyed here.
Okay, first of all, I love how usually when we have like that smarmy, like overconfident, kind of obnoxious, like male lead to a show, I can't stand it because it doesn't make any sense of why they should be like that. In this case, it makes every bit of sense that the literal devil would be a smarmy, cocky, obnoxious kind of jerk. And I loved every moment that he was on screen, you know, just hamming it up and just chewing the scenery, like in every single second that he was on screen.
Yes, the devil is played by Tom Ellis, a charming, casually bearded English gentleman who is having the time of his life with this role and is just, I mean, I should have known you would like this one because the amount of, like, hell puns in this pilot,
so perfect,
off the charts. I have never experienced a pilot that had as many just surface level puns, like as in like hot, flames, hell, like just there's no secondary joke here. It is just a pun on something related to the devil, and he is making them like every third line.
It was so perfect. I could not, have written it better myself.
So here's why I agree with you that this was enjoyable.
I was waiting.
I figured you would think I would go the other way, but this falls under my Limitless exception, which I've named for the terrible show Limitless, which I nonetheless gave a thumbs up to. It was also called the Scorpion Paradox, a show that as it got worse, I enjoyed more. This is not what I would call a good show, but it's also, I think, not trying to be necessarily a good show in any kind of traditional sense. I think Lucifer the show is very aware of what kind of show it is. It is, from this pilot, I get the sense that it is very cognizant of exactly how dumb its premise is. And it really leans into that. And the puns and the procedural setup and all of that, the tone was, I would say, appropriately light. And, I think that there's a couple podcasts back, I made a comment that, I think nowadays on TV, it's getting harder and harder to make yourself known, and that we sort of naturally are going to judge shows harsher now because there's so much on that you can really pick out exactly what you want. But there's always going to be a place for comfort food on TV, and there's always going to be a place where you're doing homework, or you're filling out some expense reports, or you're just hanging out and need something on in the background, and there's some show that's running, and it's a good time, and you can laugh at it, and you can dip in and out and not feel like you missed anything. And that kind of show is always going to have a place. And to me, Lucifer is that kind of show. And that's why I sort of approve of its existence.
Oh, exactly. You know, you can't always come home and, like, exactly like you had said, you know, put something incredibly heavy on and, you know, expect that that's going to be 90% of your entertainment. But oh my gosh, this show is just like so insane from start to finish. And, you know, like we always say that there are shows that it's like the only reason that they really falter is because they don't give in to their own insanity. Like they take themselves super seriously and they don't push into just being completely over the top. This show completely went there. It knows how ridiculous it is. It plays, you know, every bit to all of its strengths, and it just, yeah, for every reason that it shouldn't work, it works.
Yes. You are not, by the way, judging by Twitter, I live tweeted this show and it was a good time. You are not the only woman who enjoyed Tom Ellis in this, pilot, because the lady, Twitter basically turned into Magic Mike for an hour as the women of Twitter all swooned over, again, the literal devil. So, I mean, I guess it's taking Bad Boys to a new level, but, yeah, it was, I mean, it's a good time, and my one concern, because I agree with everything you said, and I agree that that's exactly why this show is enjoyable, the weakest part, I think, is when the angel shows up, and they sort of introduce the meta conflict, where, the denizens of heaven are none too pleased that Satan has left hell and are kind of trying to get him back. I think that's the kind of story that can kind of bog down and get us into a little bit too serious territory. What I think this show really needs to focus on is the devil is a police detective. And he's solving crimes. Like, as long as the devil is just solving cases and basically the mentalist, but immortal. I mean, this show is the mentalist, but the Simon Baker role is played by an Englishman who, is immortal and is also the devil. Like, that's this show. So if you like.
Owns a nightclub.
Yeah. Yes, right. Owns a night. I like that owning a nightclub was just a secondary character trait. Like, oh yeah, he owns a nightclub.
He just has it.
He just has it. Because of course he does. This is apparently based on a comic book also. And, I don't know, do you have any familiarity with the comic book?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, me neither. And I think that helps here. I read a couple of reviews written by people who do have familiarity with the comic book. Alan Sepinwall, for my money, the best TV critic working right now, just ripped this show. But his review was largely based on the comic book. And so I think this show is not like a comic book adaptation. Like it's not, this is a crime procedural. And so I think that our not having any knowledge of this at all is probably to our benefit in this case, because this again is the mentalist with the devil. Like there's no, like, this isn't Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., this isn't any kind of superhero comic booky show. This is just a straightforward procedural that happens to involve the devil. So, this show is also being protested by 1 Million Moms, the organization, who, have turned their laser of wrath onto Olive Garden, of all places, for advertising during the show, and are now organizing an Olive Garden boycott. So.
Oh, it keeps getting better.
I don't know. I think that any pilot that sparks an Olive Garden boycott, for any reason whatsoever, is worth your time. That's an automatic victory in my book.
Oh, absolutely.
So do you have any concerns about this? Like, cause I know you're kind of enjoying this ironically, right? Right? Like
in a weird way that I didn't think I would.
Yeah.
But I mean, you knew by the time that the first pun rolled out that this was going to be right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, there's an irony to it. Are you interested in any of the stories or characters, or have any any thoughts on the show besides just your enjoyment of puns?
I mean, I just think, again, the whole thing with, there are so many shows that, again, they take themselves so seriously. And, they could have done that with this show. And because, we have a show that fully gives into its own campiness and, is able to play on that. Like, that was really, really enjoyable for me. Like, I just really was so caught up in the tone of, what the show was doing. Mm-hmm. That's what really sold it for me. And I feel like it had a very strong kind of like Sleepy Hollow vibe.
Yeah.
Where, I love that show. And, I was, watching it on a weekly basis, for that reason, where it had elements of things that really shouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
But because of the chemistry between the actors, and the show has that too. And just elements of it had so many mismatched elements, but for some reason they all kind of worked in like a jigsaw puzzle kind of way where it all kind of fit.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow is an interesting comparison because that's another Fox show about a tough as nails female detective partnering with a sort of mystic, supernatural kind of figure, and solving crimes. So Fox does have a sort of formula for this. That seems to work. And yeah, I buy that comparison. And I think that if you're into like The Mentalist and Sleepy Hollow, this is probably the kind of show you might want to check out. I mean, neither of us are claiming that it's going to reinvent television or anything. But as far as just being a breezy hour, I thought this pilot did the trick. I thought I enjoyed this, quite a bit more than I thought I would. I kind of thought I would hate it, but it was so silly. And like all the protesting and stuff, I feel like the people who are protesting this show probably didn't watch the show because the idea of the devil is being used so facetiously here. Like it's not.
Oh, it's so loose. Yeah.
The show is not making any kind of statement about heaven and hell, about the devil. I mean, they are borrowing the biblical figure to, grease the wheels of their crime procedural. And like, that's really it. Like, they just wanted an excuse to have a charming Englishman say rude things.
It worked.
And it worked. And so, people probably, like, if you're outraged by this, maybe channel your outrage towards one of the million other things that is more worthy of being outraged about. This show does not take itself seriously enough and is not serious enough to warrant any kind of outrage. It's a silly, fun show that should be enjoyed in a silly, fun way. And the audience did enjoy it because this premiere did a 2.4 in the demo. We've seen most numbers this year be well under 1.5. So 2.4 demo is very strong with 7.15 million viewers, which again is excellent for Fox. Although it should be noted that this is airing after X-Files. So X-Files is pulling in huge numbers. So it's a little bit tough. It's kind of like when that James Spader show, The Blacklist, premiered after The Voice, and The Voice was doing massive numbers, and you wonder exactly how much of this is due to the lead-in. We'll probably find out in the coming weeks. Do you think Lucifer will be canceled quickly, make it through the season, or renewed for next season?
I'm kind of thinking it's going to go a Sleepy Hollow route where it's going to finish out the season, and I could possibly see it getting updated for a second one.
Yeah, I think again, it's a crime procedural, so you can tell an infinite number of stories. I am worried about it going a little too heavy in the mythology direction. I think it probably needs to just settle in to being a silly week by week procedural. I think that if this show tries to become like a Constantine kind of show where it has a sort of a heavier element of serialized story, even though it also has weekly cases, I think it could get in trouble real fast. Because as soon as you start asking the audience to take any of this seriously, the veil kind of falls, and you realize that this is all very dumb. But yeah, as long as that sort of crime procedural veil stays in place, all is good. So Olivia, your final verdict on Lucifer, thumbs up or thumbs down?
This is the most unironic or possibly really ironic as possible. It's going to be 2 big thumbs up for me.
2 thumbs up for me as well. I always appreciate shows that know what they are, and based on this pilot, might change down the road, but based on this pilot, Lucifer seems to know what it is, and I enjoy that. I enjoyed the hour. It was fun to tweet, and sometimes you just want to have a good time with TV. And so that's with thumbs up all around from us for a show that has like a 40% on Metacritic. So
Yes.
I feel like they're just not having any fun.
Probably not.
So you've been listening to the Pilot Roundtable, a TVBinges.com and Southgate Media Group production. You can listen to all of our episodes on iTunes, where you can rate and review us. We'd appreciate that. Or find us at southgatemediagroup.com. Follow Olivia on Twitter at RichardsOlivia, and me on Twitter at KyleLovesTV. Until next time.